And we're here for another update on Tropical Storm Milton, soon to be Hurricane Milton by the end of today. Now, this system is becoming increasingly more concerning, with now the potential being floated around out there that this could reach Category 5 intensity. Today, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on whether or not I think that's a possibility. We're going to be talking about the areas that should be worried, what you should be worried about, and more. So, I hope you guys are all having a fantastic morning here. I hope you guys have been having a great weekend. Tomorrow's Monday. Again, we're getting back into the flow of things, unfortunately, but I think that we have had a sufficient break here, at least in my opinion. So, what's up, Slop? So, anyway, we're going to go ahead and get right into this update here. So, again, Tropical Storm Milton now has sustained winds of 65 miles per hour. This puts it at high-end tropical storm status there, and again, we're expecting a Category 1 hurricane out of this by 1 a.m. tonight. Excuse me. Sorry about that, but so we're expecting this to strengthen into Category 2 status by 1 a.m. tomorrow night with a 105 mile per hour sustained winds and gusts up to 125 miles per hour. And then as early as 1 p.m. on Tuesday, we could be dealing with a Category 3 major hurricane with 115 mile per hour sustained winds and gusts up to 140 miles per hour. All right, thank you for tuning in, Levi. But we're going to continue to see this push northeastward. What's up, Sanja? We're going to continue to see this push northeastward and become stronger as it enters the eastern portion of the Gulf of Mexico here with sustained winds of 120 miles an hour and gusts up to 150 likely at landfall. So it is going to be intense at this Tampa landfall. Again, evacuation orders will be put into effect without a doubt for Tampa. And again, we're going to see what other areas get those as well. And we're expecting this to remain at hurricane intensity all the way as it tracks through the eastern portion of the state. We can see even after it leaves the state, it's still going to be around a Category 1. So that would put this at a Category 1 or Category 2 hurricane as it makes its way through Orlando, and that would be horrible. That would bring destructive winds, knockout power for hundreds of thousands, and that would be big. And yeah, that's another thing, Tampa Air. Again, schools being canceled in schools all across Florida right now, just ahead of this system, because again, it is looking like this is going to be one of the most devastating of the year for this area. Any chance this hits Cat 5? So we mentioned that in the intro here, Jack. If we go ahead and take a look at what the intensity guidance is right now for Milton, just keep in mind, this is a very, there are a lot of different members on here saying a lot of different things, but we do have a few poking this to the Category 5 intensity 2 in particular. These are saying that this would become, 5, so we mentioned that in the intro. I did not mean to have that. This would become a weak Category 5 hurricane, but a Category 5 is a Category 5. That is a destructive, beastly system, and it's going to be a destructive, beastly system, even if it only hits Category 3 or 4 intensity, even if it only hits Category 2 intensity. All hurricanes are intense, but again, we are now thinking that there is a very, very small possibility that this reaches Category 5 strength. I don't personally think it will. I think it's going to float around in the Category 3 to Category 4 range. The general consensus here is that we're going to see anywhere from a mid-range Cat 3 to a low-end Cat 4, and I kind of like that idea. I think that's probably the best forecast you could give for this. Some of our members here don't even have this pushing up to a hurricane, which is just ridiculous. Ignore those, because we are basically already at hurricane intensity with this system. So that is the intensity guidance. Here is the GFS. Here are the GFS ensembles. Here we can see that they are all over the place. They're saying we could see a landfall with this system anywhere across the state of Florida, but most of them are putting this at a landfall just south of Tampa Bay in general there. So let me go ahead and get an update on chat. You go to Orlando on Tuesday. Should you go to Orlando? I mean, it would be better to go to Orlando than stay in Tampa, that's for sure. But you're still going to see, again, hurricane force winds and torrential rain, maybe a couple of tornadoes in Orlando. So give me just a minute, everybody. I'm going to grab a tissue. I'll be right back. That was my fault. I did not realize I was muted, chat. I forgot to unmute. That's unfortunate. I was just talking about the wind speed probabilities and rainfall totals, which not a lot has updated from whenever we last checked out those. Again, the storm surge forecast is still not out yet, unfortunately, but we'll continue to see them become more confident in some of these features over the next couple of days. But, anyway. Sorry about that. Did not realize I was still muted. So, this is a live look at Tropical Storm Milton on the infrared satellite imagery. It looks very impressive, I'm just going to say. It looks like it's getting close to hurricane intensity at this point. Again, we got a lot of those convective towers exploding there near the core. We could see some sort of eye formation here by the end of today, even as early as the end of today, but I think over the next couple of days it's a bit more likely. But again, this is already bringing some heavy rain to areas right along the coast of Mexico there, as you can see. So again, it is already causing some minor flooding problems in those areas, but obviously this system will start to move northeastward soon. It's been pretty much stationary for the past couple of days, just dumping rain on this one spot of the Atlantic, intensifying, or this one spot of the Gulf, rather, intensifying, but yeah. Florida is being battered. Not right now, but they definitely got battered by Helene, and they're going to get battered by Milton, too, unfortunately. Again, this season has taken a turn for the worst. It was looking like it was going to be a rather unnoteworthy season. Then we had Francine, made a Category 2 landfall in Louisiana, caused extreme flooding, the likes of which we haven't seen in a long time in New Orleans. Then we had Helene. That brought incredible rainfall totals to parts of Appalachia. It also brought some devastating tornadoes as well. And now we're seeing something similar here with Hurricane Milton. What's the severe weather risk looking like? So today we have a slight risk of severe weather for portions of the Great Lakes region, back down into parts of the Ohio Valley and Appalachia here. Now, I'd like to point out, yesterday, as I predicted, was a massive bust. There was no reason for a slight risk. We literally had one severe thunderstorm warning for the entire event. Today, the Storm Prediction Center has highlighted this dark green area and a 2% risk of a tornado within 25 miles of any given point. I'd like to say, though, right now, we're probably not going to be able to stream this evening because I'm going to be out camping, or not camping, but I'm going to have a cookout to go to, so we'll see what happens, but there's unfortunately a very small chance that we have a live stream at this time, because if we just look at the timing here for this event, we'll go ahead and pull up the HRRR, we'll do a brief, what category is Milton supposed to be at landfall? We're thinking right now a mid-range Category 3, anywhere between there and a low-end Category 4. Again, I'm leaning more towards a Category 3, though. So, the HRRR model here, again, for today's severe weather event, if we go ahead and take a look at the reflectivity, we've already got severe storms into portions of Canada, near Toronto and Ottawa, but these are going to dip down into portions of New York, Pennsylvania, and Ohio around 4 p.m. And again, that's really, as soon as they enter the United States, they're going to be quite intense, bringing some hail, wind, and maybe even, again, an isolated tornado threat anywhere from Cleveland, Ohio, back up towards Buffalo, New York. 5 and 6 p.m. All right, we see a more defined damaging wind threat come out here. And again, maybe still the potential for an isolated tornado anywhere from Kingston, Canada, back towards Canton, Ohio here. This swath of storms, again, has the potential to bring damaging winds, large hail, and isolated tornadoes. By 7, 8, and 9 p.m., these storms start to weaken out, but we could still see isolated severe storms. And then by 10, 11, midnight, we start to see these really just turn into more isolated thunder showers than anything else across portions of New England, back through parts of Appalachia. So that is the severe weather risk for today. We don't have a severe weather risk for tomorrow, but I will say they have issued a 2% tornado risk for portions of Florida ahead of this system for Tuesday here. Again, we're expecting a Wednesday landfall. I want to make that clear. We're expecting a Wednesday landfall. But Tuesday, they have highlighted the portions of Florida here in a 2% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of any given point. This goes from Cape Coral, Florida, back up towards Tampa, Spring Hill, Lakeland, Four Corners, Cedar Key, the Villages, and the western suburbs of Orlando there. Helene was a mid-range to high-end Cat 4 at landfall, we believe. What's up, character? You're near there. By the way, the death count for Helene continues to rise as more of these missing people are being found. And unfortunately, we are now up to 241 fatalities. We've still got 285 missing. So, devastating stuff. And again, we've still got power out for hundreds of thousands of people across parts of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, all the way back up through parts of Virginia still. And again, these outages, guys, are not going to be fully restored for months. Things are not going to go back to normal in these areas anytime soon. Again, these communities have been devastated, and that's why we are so glad that this hurricane is going further south than we thought it would. Or not than we thought it would, but further south than it could have. Again, if this were to turn further north and take a similar path to what Helene did, that would completely wipe a good chunk of Appalachia off the map, because some of those areas are unreachable right now. And that would only make things significantly worse, obviously. But again, that is not what's likely to happen. We're likely to see a landfall near Tampa. We'll see this track through Orlando, still likely as a Category 1 or a Category 2 hurricane, bringing tornadoes, damaging winds, and flooding to everywhere across the peninsula of Florida, most likely. How do you get Raider Omega on PC? You have to buy a subscription. By the way, we're now expecting Hurricane Leslie to reach Category 2 intensity later today. By 7 p.m. this evening, we're expecting to have a Category 2 hurricane. Hurricane Kirk is still chilling out there as a Category 2, and again, it's going to beeline its way over towards Europe. We're seeing areas like France and Germany, as well as the United Kingdom, potentially seeing impacts from that later this week. So we'll see what happens with that. But, interesting stuff. And we've also got Tropical Depression 21 out there now in the Western Pacific. Expecting this to develop into a tropical storm later this week. Hurricane Kirk was not a brief Category 5. It could have been, though. I think if the National Hurricane Center did different timings for their update, we definitely could have seen a Cat 5, because infrared satellite does not get much more impressive than that, guys. How much is it? Depends on what subscription you're buying. You can get any one of them, but I've got Alpha. But anyway, we could actually see this tropical storm potentially bring some impacts to Alaska, which would be extremely interesting. Obviously, the SSTs are not very insane out here, but we could definitely still see some damaging winds out in parts of Alaska and Russia. Not areas you usually talk about whenever you're talking about hurricanes, to say the least. What's the storm next to Florida right now? Well, right now we're just seeing pop-up thunderstorms all across the peninsula of Florida. So, and again, that's only going to make things more extreme whenever the actual hurricane does get here. I mean, we're already seeing flash flooding in parts of the peninsula. So whenever the actual hurricane arrives, again, things are going to be devastating, especially after Helene as well. It's going to be horrible. Again, Florida is going to be very, very swampy after Milton's over. It already is, but it's going to get worse. Leslie has not reached Category 3 yet, and I don't think it's going to, but it's going to come pretty darn close. So, the Gulf of Mexico here, if we look at Tropical Storm Milton, this is what the satellite imagery is looking like for Milton right now. Finally can look at it on Raider Omega here. You can see the sun has just been peeking out over the last couple of hours, showing us a pretty impressive look here at Milton. I think Ernesto went major, right? So we had Beryl, obviously. We had Ernesto, I think, was a major. And then we had, no, Gordon was not. Was Gordon? I really don't even remember Gordon. I don't even think it got to hurricane intensity. I don't even remember Gordon, but obviously Helene did. Isaac did not. Kirk did. And now Milton's going to. So. Honestly, we could get to 6 majors. We're not too far off. After Milton, we're only going to need one more, I think, so. And again, Leslie's going to come pretty close. I don't think it's going to get to major hurricane status, but it'll become pretty close. So, anyway. Again, look at this. Milton is bringing some cloud cover even to parts of South Texas right now. They also have a general thunderstorm risk out for parts of extreme southern Texas for Milton here. And we're seeing some scattered thunder showers right along the Texas-Mexico border right now, so. We didn't even look at the GFS model yet this stream, so we'll go ahead and do that. The new run has been coming in, but we can see this all the way up until landfall right now. So we see it's already at a 989 millibar low pressure system, and again, it's expected to move very slowly to the east here over the next little while, but then it'll quickly turn northeast and beeline its way what the GFS is saying, the Big Bend of Florida. I think it's going to be further south, but they're saying around the southern part of the Big Bend there, and then it's just going to kind of drift off into oblivion there. And it's also worth noting that the GFS has been picking up on a consistent signal of another major hurricane trying to head its way towards the Gulf after Milton here. I believe this would be Nadine, as long as we don't have any storms in between now and then. And the end of the GFS now is also showing some snow showers into parts of New England, upstate New York, northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, northwest Maine. Again, it's been showing some wild stuff in terms of snow a couple weeks from now, so pretty consistently as well, so we'll see what happens. But the Midwest is staying incredibly dry, as you can see. Again, drought conditions are going to continue to worsen here for a while. Some areas may get lucky, see a brief shower, but that's going to be about it. The Gulf is firing up for sure. Again, this will be... I just realized this is going to break the pattern. No way. So, Alberto did not make a U.S. hurricane landfall. Beryl did. Chris didn't. Debbie did. Ernesto didn't. Francine did. Gordon didn't. Then we had Helene did. And then Isaac didn't. And then we had Joyce. Joyce was supposed to make a major landfall. It did not do that. Unbelievable. And then Kirk didn't. This is a good thing. I'm just making a joke. Leslie didn't, but now Milton's going to. But yeah, for a while, for the whole beginning of the alphabet year, we were having an every other system made a U.S. hurricane landfall, which is insane. Again, the number of storms this season hasn't been super crazy, but the strength of these storms and their landfall numbers have been. So. But yeah, I mean, at this point, we're basically at peak hurricane season, even though we're like a month past whenever peak hurricane season usually is. By the way, we still have tons of power outages across parts of Montana and North Dakota after high winds have been ripping through over the past several days. And we've got no burn orders in effect for a good chunk of the Midwest. This is the fire weather outlook. We see we've got an elevated risk for wildfires today. all across parts of Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas. It's a very large area today where we have a elevated risk for wildfires, and then tomorrow we don't have any. So, yeah, keep your eyes peeled for Milton, for sure. This is a drought monitor update. Again, it is really rough across the Midwest right now. Ohio in particular, and West Virginia, it is really, really rough. Because these are the parts of Appalachia that didn't get impacted by Helene. But you see, all the other areas that did, they don't have anything on the drought monitor, which makes sense. So the new SPC update did just come out. No major updates, though, it looks like. Obviously, no enhanced risk or anything. Give me just a minute here. But yeah, that's why the wildfire risk is so high today across the Midwest. Is low humidity and high winds, and it's just so dry out there, you know. But new SPC update has come out for today. And it's a slight risk still, obviously. 2% tornado, 15% wind, 15% hail. No big updates. So, I'm in the fire risk too, so don't feel too bad. It feels weird. We never are under an elevated fire risk here in my area, but here we are. So, I mean, they got red flag warnings all up and down parts of Michigan. Again, if you're in the Midwest today, guys, please don't go outside burning things. It is not a good idea. Wildfires are going to spread, well, like wildfires today. But even more incredibly quickly than usual. So. But yeah, we may have a stream out here for the Great Lakes threat today, but it'll be early and it's not going to be very long, so. Anyway. Sorry, Culvers, I'm not leaving my house today. So, I think we're going to end off the live stream here. I want to thank you all for tuning in. We'll have another live stream later today, hopefully talking about either Milton or covering severe weather. So, expect another stream. Again, sorry this one was kind of short. But yeah. That's pretty much all I got to say, so peace.